Hey guys, Taryn here, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my first book review here on YouTube, and it is going to be, honestly, probably one of my favorite reviews to do. So I don't think the vlog has gone up yet because I'm a little behind on getting those edited and posted onto YouTube, but there's this wonderful person on Twitter who offered to send me a signed copy of his book. His name is RC Robbin. He sent me a copy of, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Savasana's Kiss. The book was amazing, and I'm going to link it down below so all of you can go get your own copies because, well, you need to read this, especially if you like love stories. You need to get your hands on this book. RC was such a lovely person and offered to sign a copy of it for me and send it to me. And it is personalized. I unfortunately do not have the book in this room with me. It's in the other room. But I loved it. So thank you so much, RC, for doing that. And there will be a vlog coming out soon. I'm not sure when. Probably within the next month. That will be featuring my excitement about the book and me showing it off once I first got it. I just want to issue a spoiler alert before I begin the video. I will be talking about specific things within the book. I try to generally go broad with it, and just talk generally about the book, but in this case I took some notes on my phone right here. Hi, hello. And I am going to be going off of these notes while I talk. So if you see me staring off to the side, it's because I'm looking at my phone on my notes. If you don't want to know these specific things, perhaps read the book first and then come back to this review. But if you're like me and don't mind spoilers for things like this, then stick around. Or if you've already read it, stick around and let's chat. Let's talk about what my favorite parts were and what my non-favorite parts were, and see if those match up with yours. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments if you guys have also read this book. Without further ado, let's start. So, Savasana's Kiss was such a lovely story. The first thing I noticed when I opened it was the formatting, and this isn't a problem. It caught me by surprise because I'm used with I read a lot of textbooks, and I actually have a textbook right here next to me, which is what I'm looking at, where it has a paragraph, and then it's not even a line break, but there's a paragraph underneath it. It's just tabbed, so there's an indent there. This one didn't have that. So if you've read on Wattpad, I used to read on there I still sometimes do, depending on what the book is, but I used to read a lot more when I was younger. I used to read a lot of fan fiction on Wattpad. If you know what Wattpad's formatting is, with the way that it has the spaces in between paragraphs, that's similar to the formatting in this book. Like I said, at first it kind of caught me off guard. I don't know, I guess I'm just not really used to that when it comes to books that aren't on Wattpad. But at the same time, I found myself appreciating it because I remember loving to read on Wattpad. I would stay up late. I would read on there all night. So it brought back a lot of those good vibes for me. And so it made me even more excited to read the book, and it made the book that much more enjoyable for me. So the formatting, although a little weird at first, I came to love it and enjoy it very much. The first thing on my notes here, some of the little citations. So these little citations, I actually had to look it up, are called footnotes. I really liked that. At first it felt almost textbooky, but then I was like, you know what? A lot more books should be doing this. Because there's so many terms, if it's just a word I don't know, then I can either just try to understand the sentence as it is without that word, or I can take that extra second to pop on and research a definition. That's different. A lot of readers do that. When it comes to certain, I guess, practices like this, like yoga is a practice, there's going to be a lot of terms that non-yoga people, I guess, people who don't do yoga are not going to understand. It's something that I appreciate about this is those little footnotes. The footnotes gave definitions, they gave descriptions, stuff like that of whatever it was we were reading. If it was a certain term that, people who practice yoga use, if it was a certain pose, it gave a description or definition or whatever of what it was, so that way the reader wouldn't have to break from the book to go look it up themselves. Because I know me personally as a reader, I sometimes even struggle if I have to look up a definition. If I am in the book, like I'm in the zone, I am in this world, to break off to go look something up kind of brings me out of that zone, and then it's kind of difficult for me to want to get back into that. Because as much as I enjoy the book or the world, if I broke away from it for that day, my brain doesn't really want to transition back into it, you know? That might just be a me problem, but I'm sure other readers experience that too. So it was kind of weird for me. And I'm sorry about the lighting, by the way. I have the TV going right there, so it might be why I get like really white and then go back to like more reddish. I don't know why that is. But yeah, anyways, I really appreciated that part of it with the footnotes. That was a really good thought, and I really enjoyed that. One of the first things I noticed was how it is talking, I forget his name. Do I have his name written down here? Oh, dude, I don't have his name. I forget his name. Oh, Jesus, what is his name? Okay, so I just looked it up because I totally forgot his name, and apparently I don't have it in my notes for some reason. I believe you pronounce it Sean. It's S-E-A-N. I always pronounce it as Sean, so we start off the book and we learn about Sean, who is a businessman, and his wife, I believe, owns the business, and he's just basically like helping her run it / works there. We begin to see his experience with anxiety and panic attacks, and see how that affects him both physically but also mentally, and how distraught he gets as he wonders if there is something wrong with him and debates whether or not something actually is wrong with him. It's something that I appreciate because although I don't have frequent panic attacks, I know a lot of people do because panic disorder, but I personally don't. I have a lot of anxiety though. And for me, anxiety feels like a lot of different things. It can feel like butterflies in my stomach. It can feel like, I guess almost like a butterflies, almost like a tingly sensation in my chest. Sometimes I could feel it in the bottom of my throat. It feels like I'm going to throw up. Sometimes it feels so overbearing that I feel lightheaded and like I can't focus, like I can't breathe, kind of thing. And I guess having this described within the book was a little difficult to read because I can relate to that to a point, but it was also so accurate, you know, that it was almost scary. Like it was good. It was a really good description of how he was feeling and how, I guess the whole anxiety and panic attack thing worked for him, but it was so real, you know, like it was just so real that it kind of scared me a little bit, to be honest, but a good scared. I liked how it followed him with his thoughts. To me, it's less realistic. I feel like that sometimes, oh, is there something wrong with me? Or debating in your head whether or not you're sick, you know, that kind of thing. And I guess having him, because a lot of times, and I'm not trying to be judgmental or anything like that, but a lot of times, especially online, women are more likely to share their feelings when it comes to their mental health. At least from what I have seen personally, a lot of women are a lot more open with that thing, where a lot more women are open with that kind of thing, where men are a little bit more closed off. I know part of this is because of how society treats men and how men are basically almost told to buck up and deal with it kind of thing, which I think is the complete wrong way to go about handling any kind of emotion or whatnot, but okay. I don't, like I said, I don't personally agree with that. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. It kind of makes people suppress their feelings, and it ends up giving them more emotional problems later on, from what I've seen. I mean, I am also a psychology minor, so I have studied a lot of this too, so. But yeah, you don't see a lot of, I guess, like we know that men have these struggles, but I guess we don't get to see that, you know? So to feature a main character that is male and then is having these mental health struggles and having it on display for the reader was really refreshing, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed being able to see into his mind and seeing that, for one, males feel the same way, but also that we, are, I guess, one and the same, Like, I feel very similarly to how Sean feels. With him going into yoga and him talking to Alex, all of this was so well progressed. Like, it was so smooth. Nothing felt chunky or rushed or anything like that. Like, everything felt very smooth. It felt like it flowed well. Like, it was how it was supposed to be, basically, It didn't. Sometimes with stories, they either feel like they're very rushed, or it feels very chunky and chopped, where it's like you're bouncing from thing to thing to thing, almost to kind of make your point of, like, this is his journey. Or sometimes it feels very slow, where it feels like the main character should have already been at this place by now, but they're not, Where for this, it was, for me anyways, the way I found it was very smooth. It went just the right pace. So something that I noted too was, I don't remember exactly what her dream was about, but in chapter 5, Alex had a dream, and apparently I really liked that. So something that I also did enjoy was the dreams that both Sean and Alex had, both when they were, I believe most of it was when they were in yoga. I believe there was once or twice that Alex might have had a dream when she was asleep in her, I believe, apartment, but otherwise, I really enjoyed the dreams. I felt like it really expressed a lot about the characters. It showed who the characters are, their motivations, their desires, their needs. It showed a lot about them, and it made the characters so vulnerable, and I loved it. Because I know in my dreams, some of my dreams, I feel very vulnerable when I have them. Even if nobody else knows that I had them, they still make me feel very vulnerable. And so reading about these people's dreams and being able to connect in a way, I guess, to it because of that feeling was amazing, It brought a lot out about the characters, is what I'm trying to say. The dreams, I guess, helped me to connect a little bit more to the characters so I could understand them, but also connect with them. And I liked that connection I had with the characters. Something that I enjoyed is that Sean's wife, Julie, did not seem like she was very jealous at first. And I really appreciate this because there's, I guess you would call it cliche. The cliche trope, I guess you could call it, where the partner is jealous because, oh, well, you want them over me kind of thing. Oh, well, you're talking to this pretty girl, or, you're talking to this beautiful person, and you want to be with them over me, even if the other person, the other partner, isn't acting that way, their spouse is going to think that, which is reasonable. Obviously, if I was married to somebody and it seems like they might want to be in a relationship with somebody else, I'm going to get a little insecure, and I totally understand that. It's just it's happened so much, and they automatically jump to conclusions that after a while I'm just like, okay, I roll, And what I liked about this is, although later on in the book she does start to get a little jealous and her true feelings are revealed, at first she tries to play it cool and tries to trust Sean, which is something I like. She trusts him. She trusts in him to do the right thing for both him and her, to have both of their best interests in mind. And that's something that I appreciate. When it comes to Alex, her boyfriend Kevin, I very much disliked his character. As the story went on, I understood more and more of Kevin and why he was the way he was, kind of thing. But I still disliked him to a point, even though I knew his motivations and his backstory. For me, Kevin was a bit of a stale character, and it's not because of the way that he was written. He was written perfectly fine. It's just the person himself. He was a stale person. And I'm not trying to insult anyone, especially you, RC. I'm not trying to insult you. Your characters were very well written. It's just the character himself, the way that you designed him. I personally didn't enjoy his character. I thought he was a bit stiff. He was a stiff character who didn't. My note here actually says, "Where's his emotion?" Because when Alex first comes home, he barely even acknowledges her. It doesn't seem like he wants to help around the house with doing dishes or making dinner or anything like that. he seems very disconnected from her, and it kind of made me wonder, like, why are they still together if they're so disconnected? And it's slowly revealed that basically Alex feels uncomfortable talking to him, essentially. You know, sometimes it's just talking to him in general, sometimes it's talking about certain sensitive subjects, but she still feels uncomfortable. If you're with someone and you love them, you shouldn't necessarily feel uncomfortable to talk to them about things. You know, maybe a little nervous depending on the topic, but you shouldn't feel uncomfortable. And so it's something that really struck me as odd, and something that, for me, I guess put like a red flag out there saying like, hey, this relationship isn't that great. I don't know who exactly I'm talking about. I'm assuming Sean and Alex, but I wrote a note, this is I like it, where it explains when they fell for each other. I'm pretty sure that's talking about Alex and Sean, and talking about the moment they knew that they liked each other, or that they were falling for each other, or whatever you want to put it. I really enjoyed that, because it's like, okay, because as we're reading, you know, we're reading it and we're seeing as their feelings develop. You know, at first it's just like a standard relationship, and then slowly it goes into more of, you know, oh, well, I kind of like you, you kind of like me, but the other doesn't know that. You know, like, Sean likes Alex, but Alex doesn't necessarily know that Sean likes her. I really appreciate the fact that it kind of gives, because like I said, we are seeing the timeline of their relationship, but we're not really, you know, getting that moment of, oh, this is when it clicked, you know? And I guess basically going back and explaining, like, this is the clicking moment of, like, they knew. That was really good, and I really liked that. It made me, I guess, want these characters together even more than I already did. For multiple reasons. Kevin, like I said, he seemed very disconnected and very emotionless, and at first, obviously, I didn't know what that was, but even so, it didn't feel right. And Julie, although I'm sure she had the best intentions, she felt like a bit of a control freak, and it just didn't seem like a nice relationship on that end either. Where Alex and Sean, when they spoke to each other, when they interacted with each other, there was a certain kind of spark there. You know, there was a kind of mutual respect and possibly love between them. That's something I really liked, so that's why I was kind of rooting for them to get together throughout the entire thing. Having that part really helped, I guess, solidify the idea that I wanted them together. I wrote about chapter 8, Julie is reasonably jealous, because I think this is the part, there was one part where Sean basically comes out and tells her, like, hey, I don't want kids with you. And she reasonably gets jealous because they start talking about Alex. Something that I didn't like, though, is the fact that she tells him that she had a private investigator tailing him. I totally understand, like, if your husband's acting suspicious, but if you trust him enough, why are you having a private investigator following him around? I don't blame Sean for being angry about that part. That does seem a little disrespectful to me. I mean, I get, you know, you don't necessarily trust him, but I don't know, that just seems a little too far. But something I did right, I don't blame her for being upset nonetheless, because, like I said, he just told her that he didn't want to be a father. He wasn't sure that he wants to be a father. So I was right in that. I didn't read the rest of my note, but I was right in that. And something I put as just a random tidbit, one of the drivers that Sean has taking him, I think, to and from his meetings with Alex, his yoga meetings, is Franklin. I love Franklin. He is such a quirky guy for just being such like a side character. He doesn't have very many lines or anything. I adore his character. I love his commentary. He is so straightforward with everything, and I just love the dude. I'm sorry. Something that basically was one of my biggest things as I read through the book was talking about Alex's situation, her predicament, whatever it was. And it kept referring to it here and there of like, oh, this thing happened to her, this thing happened to her. But it wasn't ever, I guess, we didn't even really get many hints towards it as to what that thing was until towards the end when everything was revealed. And that was a big reveal. And I guess it helps to put into place, I guess, like the ideas of the characters. So for Alex, it puts into place why she is how she is and why Kevin is so disconnected from her, why their relationship isn't really the greatest, stuff like that. It makes a lot of sense. And as we get to the end, I have to admit, I did get a little frustrated with it. So basically, Sean tells Julie that he thinks they should get a divorce, and then they end up in a car accident. Both are okay, But afterwards, basically, Sean decides that he needs to stay with Julie until she heals, and stays with her, I think, for, like, what, a couple more years, I believe? I could be wrong, and I'm sorry if I am. But he stays with her for a little while longer, and then they, basically, she comes to him and tells him that, I think you're right. I think we need to go our separate ways, and they do. I guess basically Sean kind of finds his way and finds what makes him happy. And Alex and Kevin broke up because Kevin was basically cheating on her, from what I understand. Like, they never did anything sexually, but he was talking to her and flirting with her and making plans with her behind Alex's back, which is something I didn't like, and that made me dislike Kevin's character even more, because I dislike cheaters. In any sense of the word, I don't care. I dislike them. Sean and Alex, even though they were destined to get together and they were supposed to, after that accident, they decided, or more like Sean decided, that they should go their separate ways and try life. Personally, this is something I disliked. As much as it is realistic that stuff like this happens and then they find each other again if they're truly destined to be together, I was really hoping that after the accident, sure, maybe he stays in Julie's life to make sure that she's healthy and safe and all that, but ultimately leaves her to be with Alex like he had planned to, even before the accident. And the fact that he continues to stay with her despite his unhappiness and essentially shoves Alex aside even though they had such a great thing going, for me, it just rubbed me the wrong way. And that's something I personally disliked. I didn't like that. The way I see it, if you're unhappy in a marriage, you don't have any kids especially, but even if you do, why are you staying in that marriage? Kids or not, if you're unhappy, you need to leave each other. Like, divorce, figure something out kind of thing. And I guess, like, I get it, oh, she had health problems, you want to be there, yada yada. I get that, and that's fine. But despite her health problems, I felt like he shouldn't have stayed. I feel like he should have left anyways. Stay in her life, yes, but don't be her husband and leave that portion of it. That's something that I didn't like, was the fact that he stayed in her life as her husband and kind of left Alex, to just kind of do her thing. And sure, she needed time to heal after everything that happened with Kevin, but still, they just left each other's life for 6 years or something? That, I don't know. I didn't care for that part. Like I said, I know it's realistic. People do that all the time, but I didn't like it. I was so hoping that they would officially get together and maybe have a family, and for them to basically just kind of split from each other's lives. I didn't like it. The ending was a little topsy-turvy for me. I liked the fact that they found each other again and they decided to go get some coffee and to chat and everything. What I didn't like is how open-ended it is. Me personally, I do not like open-ended endings if I can help it. I like a solid ending. And so I guess what I'm talking about is a solid, definitive ending. So in the end saying, yes, they were officially together, or, they had a family or whatnot. I mean, sure, it's assumed, okay, well, let's go get some coffee. It's assumed that they would end up getting together and eventually having a life together, but it also leaves open the possibility of that not happening. And so, based on different readers, their point of view of this certain situation can be different. And so leaving it up for interpretation leaves it open for many different endings, and that's something I didn't like, was how it left it open for interpretation. If you're ending a book, I feel like it should be a definitive ending, unless it's supposed to be kind of open-ended, because there's going to be a next book to follow. As far as I know, this is just a standalone book. That's just something that I personally didn't I liked the fact that they came back together and were essentially going to become a couple again, but I didn't like the fact that basically it wasn't definitive as to, yes, they certainly did get together, and no, they were just friends, Let's go to favorite versus non-favorite moments. So some of my favorite moments were probably during, Alex's dreams, Alex and Sean's dreams, when basically it was revealed how they felt about each other, and about how they wanted to be with one another. The other didn't know, but the fact that they both wanted to was amazing. I also enjoyed the fact that Sean was such a realistic character in terms of emotions and how things played out for him. I liked that he had anxiety and suffered with panic attacks, because a lot of books seem to stray away from this, or it feels like they don't portray them accurately. And for me, this book both acknowledged the fact that these are things that happen quite often, actually, and acknowledged, they actually did the research and acknowledged it. It was, in my opinion, it was written. As you could probably tell, some of my non-favorite moments include the ending. I didn't care for that. The ending part was not my cup of tea. In terms of favorite characters, I really did enjoy Sean, but Alex seems like such a sweetheart. But seriously, favorite character? Franklin the driver. Oh, dude was a riot. I loved him. Least favorite character was definitely Kevin. He was so disconnected and emotionless, and I couldn't connect with him on any level. I totally understand the emotional scarring that he received or whatnot, and how he, like Sean, felt like he had to stay with Alex after what happened to her, but I didn't like the fact that it seemed like he kept pressuring her afterwards to have a child still. Like, oh, there's other ways we can try, we can do this or that. Like, if she doesn't want a child, she doesn't want a child. If you do, then maybe you shouldn't be a couple, but you shouldn't pressure her into doing something she doesn't want. Because this is also her life, but it's most likely her body that you are using, and so it's her rules, in my opinion. And I didn't like how it seemed like when they flashed back, he kept basically mentioning different things about, like, oh, well, you could try this, and if she doesn't want to, she's not going to, and the fact that you continue to mention it is kind of annoying. Get the hint. Move on with somebody who does want children if you want them that badly. It's not a problem, like, if you need to move on and be with somebody else because you want children, the other person doesn't, but you need to respect the fact that the other person does not, and to know, basically, in your heart, yes, I really do want children, to move on. Like, it hurts, obviously, to move on, but that's what's going to be best for them. But yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of this book. I really liked the progression of Sean and Alex's relationship and how things played out for them. I liked how it was building up on it. I liked the mention. It didn't seem like it was even forgotten. It was mentioned. It wasn't frequently. It's not like it was, constantly mentioned, but it was always in the back of everyone's mind of Sean's anxiety and his panic attacks, and how that wasn't just a lost feature of the book that actually followed through the entire thing. So overall, my rating for this book is a 5 out of 5 stars. Although I did not entirely care for the ending, I can put that aside, and I enjoyed the rest of the book. The ending parts are what really irked me, but otherwise, I really, really enjoyed this book, and it was probably one of the best I've read this year. So, I am giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really liked it. And just so people know, no, I'm not being biased by giving him 5 stars just because he gave me a signed copy. Yes, it is amazing, and thank you so much again, RC, for doing that for me, but I'm being 100% honest with my opinions of this book and with my rating. And my honest opinion is what I've already stated, and my honest rating is 5 out of 5 stars. So I will be linking down below in the description a link to his book so you guys can go get yourselves a copy, and go follow him on Twitter. He is so supportive and such a nice guy. He also does YouTube videos where he plays D&D, so if you are a D&D fan, you should definitely go check him out. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!